Corporate grind. Work hard, get promoted. But why aren't you getting that promotion that you deserve? When I was in my early 20s, I thought that working long hours, sending emails over the weekend, and being the first one into the office was the formula to getting promoted. You see, my parents immigrated to the US and they started up their own successful small business. So for them, this was the recipe for success and the mentality that was ultimately passed down to me. I was told that to make it far, you had to outwork everyone else, and that was the only way to succeed. However, much to my surprise, after following this advice for years, I got a lot of pats on the back and acknowledgement from my peers for being really hardworking, but I kept getting passed over for promotions. It was frustrating, and it made me feel like all this hard work was for nothing. So today, I'm going to talk about the mistakes that I made and why, even though I was absolutely crushing it at work, I wasn't getting promoted. So trust me, you don't want to make the same mistakes that I did. My name is Paul. I talk about career and personal development in an easy and achievable way for busy professionals. Let's get into it. So a common myth that a lot of people hold is that working hard in your current role automatically makes you a great candidate for the next step up. And this kind of makes sense, right? In sports, you make it onto junior varsity, play hard, you prove that you can play, and then eventually you'll get brought up into varsity. However, in the business world, this is not always the case. When I was working as a junior project manager, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was conflating my long hours with meaningful work. You see, the stuff that I was doing, it was challenging and it was difficult work, and I certainly felt like I was learning a lot and contributing to the company. I was working on average 50 to 60 hours a week, and I would make an effort to be the first one into the office and the last one out. However, in doing all this, the step that I was missing was that nobody cared. These activities, they made me a hardworking junior project manager, but it wasn't necessarily an indicator that I would be a solid project manager or senior project manager. It's not only important that you remain being good at your current job, and this is actually really important because it'll help set you apart and make you stand out from other high performers within your job level, but on top of that, you need to demonstrate that you're also ready to take on the new responsibilities that you would get if and when you get promoted. At my company, for example, the regular PMs and the senior PMs had slightly different responsibilities. They would handle more complicated and higher budget projects. They collaborated much more closely with the client, and they had a lot more face time due to the nature of the projects that they worked on. They also provided budget updates to our leadership team and had more of a say when it came to things like financials. None of the stuff that I was doing in those 50 to 60 hours in my day-to-day demonstrated that I would be good at any of these new responsibilities. So, with this in mind, take a look at those at the level right above you and see what some of these opportunities look like. Jot down a list, continually reference it, and try to find ways of starting to incorporate some of this into your day-to-day. You should learn new skills, continue your professional development, and when it makes sense, see if there's ways that you can work with or help those above you so that you can get some hands-on experience. Have you also considered asking for the promotion? Wow, great advice, dude. It might sound so obvious, but unless you specifically mention that you're looking to get promoted, your manager might not know. And I say this as a people manager because on any given day, I have a dozen things going on. I definitely try to keep an eye out and consider my team members for career moves, other good professional opportunities, but it's difficult to find time to sit down and think for hours about what someone I manage might be looking for there in their career. In fact, to combat this, I actually set up quarterly check-ins with people on my team to specifically have career-specific conversations because otherwise, I'll just never know. However, when speaking with your manager, it's not just about proclaiming, I want a promotion and I want it now. There are right ways to have this discussion. You have to set the expectation that this is what you're looking for, but you also have to be willing to take feedback and ask what skills and qualities you might need to work on in order for something like a promotion to become a reality. Like we talked about before, you need to be able to display that you're actually ready for the next level, and your manager might have solid recommendations on how to do just that. What I like to do is to actually work on establishing a roadmap, set firm dates around when we can continue to check in on my progress, and here's actually a summarized script that I personally use when I have this conversation, and you can take and make it fit for your own particular situation. You can say something like, I've been working in this current role for a few years now, and here's some of the major accomplishments that I've had. Looking ahead, I'm really interested in exploring opportunities to take the next step with my career development, and I was particularly interested in this specific role. What are some of the skills that you think I would need and the steps that I would need to take in order to make this a reality? After hearing your manager's response, make sure you end the conversation with something like this. I would love to keep this conversation going so that I can share my progress with you. Realistically, when do you believe would be an accomplishable timeline to make this happen? Can I connect with you in 3 months and then set the date to share with you my progress and revisit this conversation? Did you see some of the strategic things that I did in this example? 1. I laid out my accomplishments. It's a good reminder for your manager on all the stuff that you did to go above and beyond your regular job description, or the expectations that was set for you. 2. I clearly stated my interest in a specific role. Don't be vague. When you say you want to get promoted, that could mean a million different things, especially in a larger company, so be very specific about the particular role that you have your eyes set on. 3. Get feedback. I opened the door for my manager to provide specific feedback for me and highlight areas where he or she felt that I can potentially grow in. And then 4. Lastly, and almost most importantly, I set next steps with clear expectations around the timing. I made sure to highlight a specific date so that I can even schedule this meeting ahead of time, because it's important that you never end the conversation on a loose thread. Always make sure that the immediate next step is scheduled before you end your conversation, or else this could fall on the wayside and become something easily forgotten, and you don't want to start from the beginning all over again in a couple of months. For those that might be familiar with marketing, you know that it's not necessarily the best product that sells the most numbers, but it's actually the product with the best advertising. In the same way, it's not always the best people who get the promotion, but rather the people who put themselves out there and connect with the right people. This is even more the case if you work at a larger company where your managers and their bosses bosses might not even know who you are. So how do you market yourself? The best tip that I can offer here is to start with yourself and those around you. I'm of the belief that being a grateful and kind person actually goes an incredibly long way, both at and outside of work. People are naturally attracted to nicer people because they're more fun to be around and easier to talk to. So, instead of thinking about how you can actively promote yourself, think about how you can raise the bar for everyone around you. There's a common saying that goes, "A rising tide lifts all boats." You want to be known as someone who's reliable and trustworthy, and someone who's willing to help others. When you celebrate a major win or an accomplishment, you want to be the person that elevates those around you and goes out of the way to make sure that others get the visibility that they deserve. Most of us don't work on projects completely alone. We have team members that we coordinate with, or people from other teams that we ask for help. There's a leadership philosophy known as servant leadership. It's the premise that a true leader is someone who serves and prioritizes the growth and empowerment of those around them. This actually might sound counterintuitive to what you're looking to do, but if this is something that you can learn to do in a genuine and earnest way, and those are the key words here, I actually believe it has the ability to elevate you, and here's why. Think about a traditional CEO. You might be picturing someone from Succession, right? Nice clothes, fierce, intense, powerful. But in reality, the best leaders are those who continually find opportunities to empower and grow those around them. Going back to the proverb, "A rising tide lifts all boats." If you're a constant presence on teams that excel, think about what that does for the company. From the bottom up, it creates an environment where people are helping each other accomplish a similar goal while also growing their skills and growing personally along the way. That's ultimately good for business, and what's good for business is good for your promotion. The best managers and bosses that I've personally had are people who weren't selfish and only thinking about themselves. This type of mentality came with a positive reputation, and looking at where many of them ended up years later, the results really do speak for themselves. So remember, a promotion is never guaranteed, and every company's culture is going to be a little different. But these are just a few tips that I picked up and relied on throughout my career to get consistently promoted. It's also important to remember that a promotion in itself should never be the end goal. Someone once told me that a promotion is like winning a pie eating contest where the prize is more pie. If you're only after the title or in it for the money without a larger vision in mind, you'll find that once the happiness fades, and trust me, it'll fade a lot quicker than you think, that you're going to be left feeling even worse and emptier than before. So, with that said, what questions do you have? Are there any additional tips that I might have left out from the list? Please like, comment, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. And as always, be kind and do good. See you all next time.